Okay, I think I'm live. Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. It's so nice to have you all again this week. Some context, it is Thursday instead of Friday, at least on my end. The days have meant nothing this week. It's just been like, when it was Monday, I thought it was Wednesday. When it was Wednesday, I thought it was Monday. And I do have some scheduling conflicts this week. It's not common for me to have something come up in our normal time. And I was like, well, if I skip this week, then I'd have to do twice as much next week. And then I couldn't fit it in the weekends. So I pushed it a day sooner. But it looks like we still have a lot of people who are going to be able to join. So I'll give you all a second to kind of come in here and join the chat. Definitely say hello. Make sure I sound good. Make sure I look good enough. I'm not with like my normal recording setup right now, so definitely making some compromises, but great to have you all here on Thursday. Again, kind of the highlight is going to be, actually it's showcasing mine, I teased it last week, but it's showcasing some of the stuff I kind of noticed when I was using Tuta, some things I liked, some things I didn't like, why I'm even doing it in the first place, and hopefully some lessons for all of you. And then as always, we're gonna go through all the wins. We have quite a few this week, so I'm really excited to go through them. Definitely say hi if you're in the chat. I'll be sure to start engaging with you all and give some people some time to get in here. Again, apologies if it's not ideal. I know Thursday isn't as fun as Friday for this kind of stuff. Audio seems better. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm in a tighter environment, so there's probably less echo is probably going to be my guess. So really glad to hear, because actually I changed nothing about my audio setup itself. It's only a different environment. So yeah, so let's see. We got some comments well before the stream started. What's wrong with Proton? Nothing wrong with Proton. So I'll talk more about like why I even tried doing this in the first place. But no, it's not over some like, oh, I hate this company, so I'm gonna try to move to this company. No, it's better than that. Seems impossible to create an email account using Tor or VPN. Yeah, I definitely think so. You know, it's mostly with these free providers though, there has to be like some compromise, because if you just have no verification and you have just free accounts, then there's nothing stopping people from like abusing the system. So I get it. It's really not good. It really makes it sucky for us, but it's better than like requiring each person to pay. And I think it's good to have those free accounts there in the first place. And if that's the compromise, it's not the worst compromise, I think. Also, if any of you are patrons in our Signal group, this week I do have my Signal group up next to my like main display. So feel free to chat in the Signal group, say hi. I already see you guys chatting in there, so feel free to keep talking, and I will get back. And then I will by default, if you're in the Signal group, if you ask any questions or anything, I'll default say your name or username. So make sure to say in your question each time, don't say my name, just say the question if you don't want me to say it. It's just easier. Oh, I see someone typing already. Hello, yes. I'll wait to say your name because it's probably a little bit delayed. But if you don't say anything, I'm gonna just say, one of the patrons says hello. So this person says they don't like the Linux support, the bridge. Yeah, we'll talk a lot about kind of like pros and cons. Why there's so many Linux YouTubers, literally insane. The only normal one I could find was the Linux experiment. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're gonna. There's a lot of voices online. I've actually found quite a few good Linux YouTubers that are more than the Linux experiment. So I'm not like super invested in watching like every Linux YouTuber, so I don't know their names off the top of my head. But I've seen some good Linux content that wasn't just from him. No, no. I don't think so. Yeah, we'll get back to more of the comments, but I'm seeing here we have Carter, we have Daily Podcast says hi, Jaden says hi, Tatake says hi. We got Mr. Plasma in, lots of familiar names. It's really cool to see you all active. Carter, again, one of our supporters. Of course, we have Johnny O, who's once again giving the big support every week. Super awesome. Thank you, Johnny. Even before the stream started this week, so that's super nice of you. And you still never asked a question, so I guess that's the that's the tradition now. We just have this mysterious person who like really likes what we do, which I think is awesome. You seem quieter than when I was listening to before, but that's not a big issue. We can always turn you up. Let me check my settings. Yeah, it's already pretty high. If I raise it too much, it might start clipping when I talk louder and get more intense about a topic. But yeah, it just turned it up a little bit. We got Mr. Plasma, Daily Podcast, recommended laptop from War Crisis. Oh, Starman, hello everybody, welcome. We're starting to get more viewers. So I'll start kind of introducing everybody here to what's going to happen today. Pretty normal week. I did have a couple announcements before I started. But before those announcements, so we're going to go through announcements, and then as always, I'm going to go through the wins. I'm going to start with the highlight win, which is the Obama meme. Kind of, the thing is, it's not really a win, it's kind of just sharing an update to my journey, but I thought it was a good lesson, and it kind of opens up a good discussion, so I thought it was a good highlight one, so we're going to talk about that, but it's still kind of the wins, and then we'll go through all the rest of the wins. While I'm doing those, please continue to communicate, share love, or just share your wins in the live chat, and then when I'm done with the forum, then I will go ahead and check XMR chat to see if there's any updates there. XMR chat's a way to like live chat in real time with Monero, and also definitely leave anything in the live chat here, and then that'll be the last thing I get to. Sorry, there's just a lot of screens going on. So the Techlore supporters group on Signal, Marnix said hi. We got a couple of people reacting to the $100 that was given by Johnny O. I got a pronunciation from Goru. Here, I'm gonna Gorujo. Gorujo is how I remember them saying it. So we have Gorujo in the live chat. Let me know if I finally said it right. I think I did. You sent me an audio message in Signal DMs, and I think I can say it right. And then Marnix said audio is very good. I'm glad it sounds good. Honestly, just like the weird thing is I'm talking and I can't like hear myself talk, which is normally how I feel in like different recording environments. Garujo, there we go, is in the live chat on YouTube as well. Is there a purpose to moving to Tuta? Yeah, so we'll go ahead and touch on that. And I think we are at we're at a good number of viewers. So let's go ahead and get into the main win here, or the main topic of the week. So this one's from me, and some context. I've been a Proton subscriber starting with the free plan since around like 2017, 2018 era. I don't know the exact date, but I've been using Proton for a long time now. And it's really cool to like see the developments that have happened and to see them expand and do a lot of cool things. But there's a couple things that I've been thinking about. One, I've expressed quite a few times, like, I feel like they can be very corporate, they can be very like marketing first. And to me, and I kind of hinted at this in the newest video, right? Like, it's kind of cool to do these streams, I can share more of my personal thoughts and like, you know, talk about things a little bit more thoroughly, whereas like the privacy email providers I just talked about earlier this week, that video is more like, okay, I can only say a couple sentences about each provider without making this video an hour long. So to give more context, I talked about how like Proton in some ways almost feels like big tech now. You know, they have over 500 employees. They're very corporate. The marketing is a very corporate tone, and I don't think that's bad. And I even kind of said in the video, like, there's pros and cons. It's nice to have that stability. It's nice to know that if a nation state attacks Proton, they have a ton of people to help address that. They have a ton of resources, and they're going to be stable. And we've seen that because we've literally seen them fight off DDoS attacks against massive governments, and their response times weren't terrible given the kind of attacks they were dealing with. It also is just a little bit more reliable, and longevity is pretty good. Like, you know, I don't think anyone thinks Proton's going anywhere the next 5 years, right? So there's perks to that. But I've kind of been missing more of that like grassroots feel, and Tuta has that. And it's kind of the same thing when I'm talking to these projects behind the scene, because most projects I have some kind of communication with behind the scenes at some point, and Tuta is like very just like down to earth, like we're very passionate about this, whereas Proton is like more corporate feeling and just different vibes altogether, I'd say. It's not right or wrong, but I just really want to like Tuta. And so what I did is every month, so they released, I might be getting the details wrong here, but it's either alpha or beta. I forgot which one was in alpha and which was in beta, but they released desktop clients. Tuta did. I believe in beta. And then in that beta, they released either, I think, an alpha feature in the beta, if that makes sense, for email import. Now, this is really exciting because one of the main reasons why I haven't even bothered to test Tuta in my personal life after all these years of using Proton was that it's just so hard to get my emails over. And when I'm running Techlore, like I have important emails from the last like almost 10 years I've run this project now. So I can't just like move to a new email provider and not have easy access to all those old emails, because it's not uncommon for me to have to dig up an email from 2019 or 2016 because of all the emails I have to deal with. So every month I've tried it. The first few times I tried the tool, it just literally didn't work. But I finally had the most success. Oh, I'm not even on the right screen anymore. How did that happen? I had a lot more success this last time. So they've been making updates, and I tried again earlier this week. It still kind of failed, I think. Like, it seems like it imported all the emails, but along the way it said multiple times, oh, this email failed to import. And then when it finished, it never actually said it was finished, but it looked like all the emails were there and it was stuck at the end. So it was just really buggy altogether. But either way, I went ahead and set up a forwarding address from Proton to Tuta to just see if I could use it. And right away, I just figured like I couldn't. So the main thing that really prevented me is I was like, well, okay, let me just look up random emails from random years on Proton and cross-reference that with Tuta to see if I can just like say, oh, wow, if I just randomly pick emails, yes, they are in Tuta and they did import successfully. And Tuta's search was just awful, and I couldn't even do that. And that's when I had kind of the realization, like, okay, this just isn't going to work. And I think I do take a lot of things in the Proton experience for granted. So, and that's, I kind of hinted at this in the last review I put out, like the top email providers video, where I said, I think Tuta is really good if you don't have like crazy use cases for email. If you're someone who just logs in its current state, I think that like it's fine. You just log in a few minutes a day, deal with basic emails. And if you start with Tuta from scratch, I think you're great. But I think like the inability to import emails from other providers cleanly, like efficiently, and with the guarantee that everything's there right now is like very off-putting to me, which I don't like saying because I really want to give Tuta a shot. And the reason why I also want to give Tuta a shot is like I want to see more Proton options that are just as good as Proton. And Tuta, I think, has a few unique features I really enjoy. Like I love the email templates feature. But yeah, so that's kind of my partial win, partial loss. So the partial win is I got the furthest I ever have to actually trying Tuta as a daily driver. The loss is I still can't actually try Tuta as a daily driver without setting up a whole new email account, which isn't really compatible with my workflow, and that's just going to complicate things. So my long story short is not ready for me personally, but cool to see progress. And I think that's big, and I want to congratulate Tuta for that. And also I appreciate Proton a little more. The next project I really want to try out is Fastmail, especially for business, because I cannot tell you how many times I have to send an encrypted email for business. It's like 1 out of every 1,000 emails. So like in my head, like Fastmail could be also like a pretty adequate replacement for Proton for business. So just stuff I'm playing with. It's always fun to just try new things, try new projects, especially in my position when I'm talking about these projects and looking to review them, give my personal thoughts. It kind of requires personal experience. So those are my thoughts, but I'd love to hear all of you. Do you use Proton? Do you use Tuta? Do you use a different email provider? Leave it in the live chat. Leave it in the Signal group. Let me know why. If you've tried other ones, what were your complaints? And I'd love to get some of your personal thoughts on this stuff. Yeah, and I realized that as I was talking, I got almost no engagement. So I hope that you all can kind of fill me in on what you think about my experience, if you've had similar experiences, and what yours has been. Yeah. And while you're all putting that together, I wanted to go ahead and start with Garujo, who says, I guess a universal win today is the Signal Gate. So for those who missed it, some top people in the US administration were sharing very classified information through Signal, which is not a verified platform to send that information. Problem 1. Problem 2, they added a random journalist into the chat who got access to all this, and they literally thought it was fake the whole time. They were like, there's no way this is real. This is probably some phishing attempt. This is probably some state actor trying to trick me. But no, they actually saw the times and they knew the attacks were going to happen because they talked about times that bombs are going to be dropped on foreign adversaries. So pretty embarrassing stuff, regardless of the administration. That is completely unacceptable behavior. And I think it's been a pretty like across the aisle thing that most people are like, yeah, that was not good. So the benefit here is that Signal got a huge amount of press coverage and a lot of people talking about Signal, and I'd say 80% of it has been very positive and very good, and Signal got like all-time signups in the US, and I think on a single day it was a stat similar to that, so that was a huge win, and I've been seeing a lot more privacy tools just casually being talked about in the public sphere, which like 5 years ago was a non-thing for the most part. So really big, and I think speaks to how like the world is moving towards that more like we need privacy direction. If any of you are in the live chat and you're not in the US, I'd love to hear like how prevalent this was even globally. So let me know like what country you're in and like how prevalent that was. And then let me go ahead and check if any of you, no one gave thoughts on the Tuta Proton thing? What's that about? Oh wait, it did. It just didn't update in the background. Sorry guys. Let's see here. iOS privacy guide coming soon. Let's see. Any other OG Proton beta users here? No, you see, I didn't start using it during the beta. That's a real OG right there. Shout me out, brother. Adrian. Adrian's been a sub for 6 months. I am shouting you out. Let's see. I don't want to say Proton is bad, but I kind of feel Proton has slowed down their development on their main apps like email and calendars. I would agree, yeah. And I will say, like, Tuta also hasn't been fast, but Tuta has like a very small team relative to Proton. So I better excuse Tuta for being a bit slower, and Proton having over 500 people is like, okay, like we just got an iOS calendar widget, which I'm really excited about, but that took years, and it's like, it's just confusing to me. But I know this stuff can be really hard to do. Yeah, no, I'm really glad that like you know, Proton is still a recommendation. I still use it. I still recommend it. And overall, it's good. So I get to be in a place where I'm nitpicking, and I've used it for a long time. But yeah, I'm glad it's been going well for you. Cool. Yeah, no, I switched over to Proton Pass from KeyPass as well, and it has been like no regrets. I have not for a single moment gone back to thinking, man, I wish I stayed on KeyPass. The only thing I'm worried about is the aliases. I definitely feel like very locked into the Proton ecosystem because of the aliases, but that would happen regardless of SimpleLogin. So it's less of a password manager issue and more of a I'm starting to use email aliases issue. The perception that Proton's growth seems negative comes from the way big tech has ruined the reputation. I think that's definitely a factor. Like size has definitely been associated with like enshittification and all the negative things, but I think there is some validity to it, right? Like I don't think anyone would argue that Proton feels more grassroots than it did 10 years ago. I think as things scale up, there is more bureaucracy. There are teams, and it's much harder as a company to have like a shared vision in how you present yourself. So there are natural challenges to having a larger organization. And so, yeah, I think what you're saying is true, but I also personally think that like with Proton, there's certain ways that like their marketing is done and ways they present themselves that are extremely corporate that don't need to be that way. But, you know, it's their company, so they can run it how they please. But I do think like there is a big part of me that really enjoys kind of the direction that Tuta's trying to take it. Bro can't see us. Yeah, I know, I couldn't see you guys for a while. I use Proton and Tuta. What do you guys use it for? I use Proton, tried out Tuta to see if I like it, but the lack of Thunderbird, yeah, not having third-party client support is kind of sucky. I agree. You have to use Tuta. It's not free. Yeah, it is. There's a free plan. Proton and Tuta have very similar free plans. Runbox. Never heard of Runbox. Yeah, good way to put it. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have nothing but issues with, or nothing but, I haven't had any issues with it personally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I do. I actually, so, you know, we recommend Bitwarden. I recommend Bitwarden. If you use Bitwarden, you're doing great. I just really personally just don't like the interface. It feels very clunky to use. I feel like I have to tap 3-4 things every time to do basic things. And I just think that Proton Pass is a much cleaner interface, much simpler to use, and is much more automated. For me, Bitwarden is like one of the most diehard favorites services like across the board that I've seen. Like over the years, people love Bitwarden. So I'm not here to trash Bitwarden. It's just every time I've used it, I got frustrated. And when I tried Proton Pass, I had none of that. So I think that what I like in software just seems to be better aligned with the way Proton Pass does things. But yeah, Bitwarden's great from like a privacy, security, and tech perspective. I did get a Proton 2-letter username. I'm starting to switch. Oh, not receiving enough video. Yeah, give it a sec, guys. Sorry about that. I might have to turn down my video for some reason. Okay, it's going to be slightly lower quality, I think, but hopefully that helps things catch up. I just dropped my bit rate slightly, so you're probably going to see a lower quality version of me, but hopefully that helps the speed a little bit. I'm on a different Wi-Fi network right now. Okay, let's go back to the wins. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm very kind of off. Yeah, no, that's really buggy. That's happening on my end too, so it's not just you guys. Actually, encoding overloaded. I'm like killing OBS. Why? I've never seen that before. Okay, seems to be slightly better now. Slightly? Okay, hopefully I'm back, question mark. Sorry, guys. Okay, am I back? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and continue. It looks like I'm back. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay. Top chat to live chat. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to live chat. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to stay on topic. We're going to work through some of the wins now. So Andrew B says, it appears Epic, the software as a service medical office software solution many doctors' office uses for appointments, etc., implemented TOTP for logins. Long awaited. Okay, huge win, and there's a huge lesson here. I've talked about this quite a few times, but it's seriously something that's happened at least a dozen times in my life. So services update what they do in the security realm of things, and a lot of times they don't tell you about it. I remember Patreon, I don't think originally had 2FA when I joined Patreon, and it's one of those platforms that over time, I just logged in one day and I realized I had 2FA, and this is a very common thing that I've seen across the board. So this is a good reminder, and this is why I encourage doing audits. For me, the way I audit things personally is I'll go through my password manager and I'll just go through services. I'll start by just being like, oh, that's right, I created this account as just a trial. I never ended up using this service, and I'll just go and log in and delete it. So that's part of the audit. I'll also go through and just check in on different services. And these can take a while, right? So I'll go through each service, just log in, make sure I've updated for new security settings, check if they have 2FA. A lot of times I'll find at least one service when I do an audit that's now updated some security setting that I can utilize to keep me a little bit safer on those accounts, because they don't notify people about them. Also, it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. So, you know, I'm saying to check for good stuff they add. Sometimes they can also add bad stuff. The bad stuff they can add in is like new analytics, new forms of tracking, and they typically opt you in by default into these things. So it's really good to do these audits and just double check every service. Really glad, Andrew B, you got one more service using 2FA. That's super awesome, super important. And for all of you, you might have a service already that has 2FA that didn't originally have 2FA. So that's your reminder. You'll have some homework this week, and it's an important reminder to do audits. I've been doing mine every few months recently. I used to do them monthly, and now I have less time to do them monthly, so it's turned into like every few months. The important thing is just being consistent about it. Doesn't matter if it's 6 months, 3 months. I'd say try to keep it less than a year, though, and be consistent about it. Everyone's saying that the video and audio seem to be doing better, so I hope that's fixed now. And the people in the Signal chat are confirming. Let's see here. Marnix on the Signal chat said it must be overwhelming to manage these screens. Yeah, actually, it's a lot of screens, and right now I only have one display, so I have to just cycle between things, and I can't really see what's going on on another screen while I'm looking at one screen. So actually right now as I'm reading the questions, I can't see how the stream is doing. I can't see what OBS is doing. So there's a lot of just blind faith right now. So I kind of expanded more here. Someone asked me why I'm trying Tuta, and hopefully I answered why I did that earlier. Grand External has several wins again. So they said they deleted 2 Instagram accounts, personal and business. Congrats. We've already talked about deleting social media in one of the previous streams, so go back if you want to see some more takes on that. They deleted their X account. It was one of the first back in the day. Sad. Congrats. They wiped all photos of themselves from Facebook and untagged posts of mine from others. Yeah, I think I haven't used Facebook in so long, so I don't actually know what happens. Like, if you get tagged in a photo on someone else's page and you delete your account, what happens to the tag? But it's better to be safe than sorry, so it's probably good you did that. But I'm not a Facebook person, so if anyone knows what happens if in that situation, definitely let me know. They also deleted their Facebook business page of 10 years. They also wiped their old Pinterest account, so they forgot they had that. So it sounds like just a big social media cleanup from Grand External. Huge win, huge congrats. I know it can take a long time to actually like process those deletions and get your data off of them, so I know how much work that was. And Marnix just said, let's go Grand External. So you also got some love from the Signal group there. Mohammed said that they got their Muslim-friendly apps from GitHub in the KeePassDX Libre version from its official website using Obtainium. Yes, so I'm going to give you guys a quick briefer on Obtainium if you haven't heard of it. So typically you get apps from an app store. Even F-Droid is an app store, and you can add third-party repos, but it is still like a centralized-ish app store. And when I say centralized, I don't mean that you can't add different repos and do different things. It's just you have to get it from this place, and there is still a lot of trust you have in that. Obtainium is for anybody here who wants to have like a slightly more resilient and you don't like app stores for whatever reason. What you do is you essentially just add a GitHub repo. Like you can add KeePassDX possibly, just add their repo, and Obtainium essentially fetches that repo and checks for updates and will automatically download and install them for you. So it's essentially a way to manage your apps where there is no app store on your phone. Naturally, this is only going to work with mostly open source software that posts their releases on GitHub or GitLabs or some other Git program. And it'll just fetch those updates, and it keeps tabs on them. It does automatic updates in the background. I know it's the recommended way that we like to push people in Cake Wallet to use Obtainium, because with Cake Wallet, like, you never know if Apple's going to approve something. Google, I think, has completely unlisted Monero.com mistakenly in the past. Cryptocurrency stuff in general is just very, like, iffy, especially when it comes with Monero and privacy. Then you have like 3 things that are like very like iffy in terms of these big tech platforms. So it's much safer to use something like Obtainium for open source software because you're getting it directly from the developer without any third parties that could compromise. And I don't say compromise in like a security perspective, just compromise in the sense of like they could delist the app or they could delay an update, etc. So they could really compromise the software chain and like the quickness of a security update potentially. On the other hand, to make sure you're adding proper repos, there are malicious repos on GitHub. If you add the wrong one, then you're going to install something bad on your device, and you don't have like someone else that might catch something. Like if theoretically a malicious developer published an alternative version of software on Apple, Apple might be able to recognize it's malicious and stop it before it ends up on your device. It's a maybe, but theoretically, there's just a little bit more trust in your hands when you do this. Highly recommend trying out Obtainium. It's on Android. Anyone can use it. You don't have to have a custom ROM. Right now, if you have like a stock Android device or a Samsung device, just download it and play with it. And just see how there's this whole new other way to keep up with software. It's kind of like a package manager on Linux, to be honest. It's very nice to use. I'm going to do one more here, and then I'm going to go back to the live chat and give you all some attention. Yeah, Marnix said, awesome, you found other sources, Mohammed. So you got some more love from Marnix there. Garujo is also typing in the Signal chat. We'll see what you guys say. Panels Gloved said, many wins in the last couple of weeks after a month following Techlore. So it looks like you're a new follower. Really happy to hear that. We got a huge amount of followers. This is kind of awesome. I'm really excited about it. Last month was a huge month for us. We saw like a 80, 90, almost 100% increase in views and watch time last month. So it's been awesome to see like so much of the world kind of like, there's been so much like nonsense coming from big tech the last couple months, and also from governments trying to like implement end-to-end encryption backdoors and all this nasty stuff. And it's really cool. Like we've been seeing an influx. I know Tuta posted on our forum, like the official Tuta account on our forum, posted that they saw a huge influx. I've been getting DMs on Signal from different projects that a lot of you probably use that they've been seeing an influx. So guys, like there is this whole movement behind the scenes that like you're all a part of that is very much like showing positive growth. Like these services are getting a lot of attention. So there's a lot of wins going on behind the scenes right now. Just wanted to share that along. Like you guys are doing a lot of good stuff. Back on topic, they installed Linux Lubuntu. If you haven't heard of it, it's like light Ubuntu. It's a very light distro, runs on a very light DE on an old Toshiba laptop, probably because they want to keep it as light as possible because it's not a super powerful system. Painstakingly switched all my TOTP accounts over from Authy to Ente Auth. I know how painstakingly difficult that is, but I'm really glad you took care of it now because that will only get worse over time as you get more and more services in Authy. So good job. I know how hard it is to probably log into each individual service, disable it, re-enable, but I do think it's worth it. And now you own your frickin' TOTP codes from now on, and you can export, import to anything else from here on out. Authy never let you do that, but now you can do that. So congrats on those two things. They downloaded all my Google data from Drive and have begun a deletion process of the account. They moved all their GDocs over to OnlyOffice and have begun using it with a bit of struggle. Have not yet found a worthy replacement for gVoice in terms of user friendliness, bare basic features, and cost in order to port their gVoice number to. Yeah, Google Voice, I will say, is a really hard one to replace. You know, I talk about MySudo and I use MySudo, but I actually use both Google Voice and MySudo. And the reason for that is MySudo is more for like spam stuff and just keeping it away from Google Voice. But Google Voice is a really nice service, and I have not found anything like it in like the open source / like privacy world, because it would be cool to have like a very nice Google Voice alternative. There is JMP Chat, which is very nice. It just requires a little bit more DIY, but that could be something to look into. But it's a lot more DIY than Google Voice. They closed their Telegram account, opened Signal. No success in convincing anyone I know on WhatsApp to migrate to Signal. Keep trying. We've talked a lot about like different strategies to move people you know to Signal. And I know Naomi Brockwell has a video on it. Everyone has different strategies, so don't give up just yet. It takes time, and like it sounds like you're pretty new to at least what we talk about for the last month. It's a very common thing, so don't feel like you're failing. And it takes you more time to learn language and like communication about how to convince people, and it takes people around you time to also understand you and understand why you might want to use the Signal. So be patient. It's something that over time I think you're going to have more success with, and also it scales up. It's exponential. You know, once you move a few contacts over, if they know some other contacts, then it's easier for you to convince more people to move. So just hang in there. Already, just like what you've sent is like an insane amount of wins. So just congrats so far. But they downloaded VirtualBox and have tinkered with the virtualized Fedora Silverblue with some success. That's awesome. Definitely let me know if you plan to move over to that permanently on a new system. I don't think you'd want to run that on the Toshiba laptop, but let me know what your long-term goal is there. They've been using email aliases with Apple's Hide My Email. It's a great start. If you want an improvement, something that won't lock you into the Apple ecosystem. Also, there's ADIO, there's SimpleLogin, and those are two like great places to start. They're open source and they're cross-platform. So I think Apple Hide My Email is fine. It's better than nothing. Just be aware that if you ever want to get an Android device or you ever want to move away to Linux, it's going to be a little bit harder to manage those things if you generate too much on the Apple side of things. They installed Portmaster's Firewall. Great suite, great tool. Love the Portmaster stuff. Downloaded and installed Reader and subscribed to a ton of RSS feeds. Congrats. So yeah, those are all their wins. And I just want to say, it sounds like you're fairly new to this whole thing. And I don't know, like a couple months of following Techlore, I don't know if you followed other like channels that might give other advice. But if this is new, which is what I'm getting from you, huge amount of wins in a month. It can take some people like a year to do what you've already done in a month. So just want to give some massive props. It's awesome stuff. Now the not wins column. They had issues using Cryptomator on Windows. After installation became successful and they created a vault, Reveal My Drive always brings up an error stating the drive cannot be found and that it may have been moved or deleted, which is not true. They've searched everywhere and have not managed to find answers for this issue. Yeah, definitely reach out to their support if they have any, or their community. See if anyone is able to like help out there. That is the one downside to a lot of these open source projects is, you know, unlike if you go with Dropbox, you can always just email Dropbox support and they'll have a dedicated full-time person there to help you out. So definitely don't give up just yet, but I hope that, you know, someone can help figure that out for you. And then they backed off their commitment to adding a dual boot. Okay, so you did expand on what your goal was. A dual boot environment on a Windows laptop and adding Fedora Silverblue alongside it after reading some known issues on Fedora forum regarding Silverblue not being friendly to dual boot systems. Yeah, and just in general, you know, I do like dual booting because I like the flexibility that it provides, because a lot of people like use Windows for gaming and then Linux for personal stuff, and you can have it on the same system. That's great. Just know that it's very unreliable. I've had several dual boot systems just break. And when I say break, normally it's recoverable. Like normally I can install the bootloader, or normally I can still like, you know, I will say I've almost always done it on separate drives. So even if something really gets screwed up, I can just like take out the drive and put it into a system and like still have all my files in it, right? Like, so it's not the end of the world typically, but be very careful with dual booting. I'm glad you're trying out Fedora Silverblue. I'm glad you're trying out different options. I will say that Silverblue is a great operating system, but if there is a Linux distro out there that you're more comfortable with the concept of dual booting, don't let like the security benefits of Silverblue prevent you from at least moving to Linux in some capacity. So there are middle grounds between like Silverblue and maybe something that might be more compatible with your workflow. Just if you want to get started on things sooner. And then it's pretty easy to swap between Linux distros overall, especially if you went from like Fedora to Fedora Silverblue, for example. You can always just move your home folder, and then you just have to find, you know, your packages and reinstall your packages. And a lot of times you can move configuration files as well. So just know that it's much easier to switch between Linux distros than it is to switch between like Windows operating systems, in my experience. Yeah. Okay, let me go to the live chat, catch up with you all here. Let's see. Okay, glad everyone's saying the video is good. I actually moved into privacy, anonymity, and security within a week. I used to use all Google, and your channel was actually eye-opening. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad the channel's eye-opening. Don't think you have to do everything in a week, though. That is not something I formally ever say, because that can be very overwhelming to some people. But if you watch this content, or you find someone else, or you find some resources online that like just instantly want to make you switch, I'm not going to be the one to tell you not to go quickly, right? Like, I just don't want to make that seem like it's required. But if you guys want to move quickly, by all means, that's awesome. Let's see. How do you do an audit? I think I kind of explained that, like how I shared how I do mine. So hopefully I answered that. You passed up my partial win again. Let's see. What did I miss? Let's see. You know what really trips me up is your profile photo is different between the platforms. So I'm looking for your Signal profile photo here. Oh, you're back on YouTube. Okay. You passed up my partial win. Okay, did you say it in the live chat? Oh, okay. So Garujo left a very big thing here on the Signal group. They said the good thing about Signal is that I'm not limited to YouTube characters. Henry, question. For context, I was yesterday in a parade because of autism awareness. My dad showed me a video of a friend or family of his shared a friend on Facebook that included my face and my friends. I wonder if I should be concerned, and what can I do? If I'm being honest, there were so many people recording, I don't think it was really easily avoidable, but I thought I'd ask outside of perhaps wearing a mask next time. Yeah, I think this is always something frustrating, and it's one of the big reasons that myself and especially other people like Kerry Parker always really stress the importance that privacy is not just about us. A lot of things we talk about is like, here's how you move to a better cloud provider. Here's how you move away from Google. Here's how you make your privacy better. And it's something I can be better about as well. But as a community, we need to do better of acknowledging that privacy is a lot more than ourselves. If we make other people more private, it makes ourselves more private. When we make ourselves more private, we make other people more private. When we're not using Facebook and uploading photos of other people on Facebook, we're keeping other people more private as well. So it is more than just us. It's a community thing. It's something we need to work together on. Garujo's question really speaks to this, because so many people don't care about privacy. And yes, you go to a public event, you can't stop someone. You're on public property. You can't stop someone from taking a video and posting it wherever the hell they want. You can't stop someone from like trying to take videos of people and trying to actually use, like AI to figure out who's who and look up where they live and post that online. You can't stop these things from happening. And this is why I think it's really important for us to look outside of ourselves more often and realize that we're all connected in this fight. So when we still have people in our inner circles that use Facebook, or they use these providers and are posting photos of you, that is still jeopardizing your privacy. But if we were getting them on more private platforms in the first place, it would be less of a concern to us as well. So it all goes around. Any improvements we make to people around us ends up helping us as well. And when we're helped, it helps them. It's this really positive feedback loop. To answer your question more directly, I think with people in your life, you have the luxury of setting boundaries with them. I don't think it's incorrect or weird at all to go to your friends and family and be like, hey, if you could, like, I'd really prefer if you just like blur out my photo. I just don't like to be on Facebook. And especially with like a parade, I don't know, like I don't want to be like included here. I just want to be here and I want to have my privacy. And if they don't respect that, then I would just say they're not being a good friend. Like that's something that a good friend I think should respect, and you shouldn't have to over-justify yourself. And I think just say, hey, do you mind just like adding an emoji, or do you mind like just blurring out my face? A good time to mention too that Signal has like a blur photo feature on Signal. Or just offer to do it yourself. Be like, hey, can you send me the photo? I can actually just blur out my face and send you one that you can post, and I think that would be great. So set those boundaries when you can, because I think that the boundaries can really help out you and also those other people. My dog's barking. One sec. Yeah, so that's kind of the first place to start. As for random strangers, you can't control what other people do. You know, you can try to go to someone and be like, hey, can you not post that photo you just took of me? And you'll get a 50-50 reaction of, oh, of course, and a laugh. So I would say, yes, if you are concerned about the public or if you don't want to be seen somewhere, you're going to have to wear a mask and like take your own precautions. Or wear a Pikachu costume, apparently. That's the new thing now. But yeah, I hope that gives some things for people to think about. Privacy is a lot more than ourselves. It's about a community. It's about spreading it to others. And it actually helps you as well. It's you know, you can look at it from a selfish or from a community perspective. And either way, the solution is the same. We need to make other people private too. Let's see. Let's see here. Is there going to be a video showcasing cubes? Yes, so I still have the Nova Custom laptop that I just reviewed, and I have used cubes enough to have preliminary thoughts, and I'll be actually like doing work from cubes for the review. I can't say I'm looking forward to that, but I will be trying to do like a full work day on cubes and like have much more like in-depth thoughts on cubes. I think it might change the review 10%. I think I've already got like a pretty solid, like fundamental, like understanding well enough to do a pretty solid review of cubes. So yeah, that's coming soon. I have a free account on Tuta. I'm on the fence as to whether I should make it my primary or Proton. Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that for you. Just try it out. Try both out. I think you'll see pretty quickly the pros and cons between the two providers and which one might click better for you. I can't answer that. I know I definitely cannot move over to Tuta right now for some of the stuff I'm working on, but it might be like a good secondary, or I could definitely use Tuta in my personal life. So I've been kind of playing with that, is like Proton for business, Tuta for personal. And the nice thing about that too is I could have like 2 separate email apps, because I really don't like the way Proton handles multiple Proton accounts on some of their apps. So yeah. Do you have an opinion about the Brax 3 phone? Yeah, again, I've said this before. I think doing things like as a creator, I have put so much time into this channel, and that's not even my full-time job with Cake Wallet. So like my days are just completely taken up. I can't imagine on top of that trying to roll out like a product. Like an actual product that's a phone that requires good security, that requires good privacy, that requires support, that requires like manufacturing. And then on top of that, you're adding a software component, which is an entire, like, I believe it's with YodaOS, if I'm not mistaken. And if so, then a lot of the software might be taken care of. I don't recall the details. My point is, I haven't done a deep dive because I am more likely to trust like a more established device that's been put out by people who are like full-time committed to something. That's just my personal decision. If you guys like these phones and you see something about it you enjoy, definitely try it out. But I can almost guarantee you that from like a privacy security perspective, it's not going to be drastically different than like getting your own phone and flashing your own. Like whatever OS it runs, you can flash that same OS on your own device. So those are my general thoughts. And I have never found like a custom like phone from an individual or like a small group of people that convinced me enough that I would trust it. If anything, just not having like a group of people that were dedicated to trying to find like firmware exploits or just locking things down properly. There's a lot that goes into phones, and yeah, I actually even feel weird about Linux phones in general. Like, I think that purism and especially, why am I blanking on, purism and I literally have one. Have I not had the right screen on this whole time? There we go. I meant to have it on this screen. Pine 64. Okay, I didn't even have to type. Okay, Pine 64, like, they're all kind of development devices in my head, and I just wouldn't trust them for like super sensitive stuff personally, just from a basic security perspective. But I'm a lot more nitpicky about that kind of stuff, so everyone's going to be a little bit different. Any thoughts about the news that Android development changing the way they do things? Yeah, I gave my thoughts on surveillance support. I don't have enough experience with like the Android development side of things to know exactly how that would impact someone like developing an operating system. But from what I've seen from the community on the Android side of things, people aren't super concerned, and it doesn't seem to change too much for them. So it doesn't seem to be as bad as it sounds. For people wondering, the like headlines that are going around are like Android is taking development private or like proprietary, and it makes it sound like Android open source project, which is what a lot of ROMs are based on, is just like going proprietary and that's it. Like ROMs are dead. That is kind of how it's being presented. That is not at all what's happening. So yes, please, no need to freak out, but I don't know exactly how that would impact a project. Let's see. I'm trying to get caught up on comments a little bit here, but there are a lot of them. Speaking of moving to Signal, I finally gotten my mother to move to Signal instead of SMS by explaining how well it works cross-platform. Yes, okay, that's awesome. Good win. Apple's hide my email works on the web, so no Apple device is strictly required. That's good. I just think the integrations, right? Like I'm not saying you probably can't access this on the web. It's just with SimpleLogin, you're going to get cross-platform support on Linux, Windows, with extensions, with clients. Same thing with ADIO. So I think that just setting things up, and especially apps, like on Android, I don't think you want to be pulling up hide my email on Android in the web is probably my guess. So you can do it. I just wouldn't recommend it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on that. Tuta knowing since 2017, your views on Bastion. Not too familiar with them. Bastion, yeah, no, not too familiar with this, so I don't really have any thoughts. By the way, Henry, reminding you a question on Signal. I think I answered that. What do you think about Windows user jumping to Qubes with some basic Linux knowledge? I do not recommend. If you only have basic Linux knowledge, you'll be able to get Linux or Qubes. It's fine. I just think that I can't like in good faith just say do it. Like, if you know the risks and you're not doing anything sensitive, then why not? But if you're doing anything that's like work sensitive, that you can't like compromise in any like too much, then yeah, just be wary if you do it. I'm not gonna say no, just be wary. Have you tried Qubes? Yeah, I'll have a review soon. I would just wait for the review. I'm getting caught up here. Is Proton compromised? No, I don't think they're compromised. There's no reason to think that. Yep, you got it. Gorujo. Henry needs to refresh, and everyone's so... I'm almost caught up. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with this take as well. Like, I really don't see what like benefit. Like, I would genuinely ask, like, hey, what is the benefit to this device with this operating system versus like getting a Pixel and flashing something else? Like, what is the benefit there? And I think that the answer to that question should help you all decide what works best for you. There's nothing that Proton's done to make me think that they talk to cops. So yeah, I don't know what that has to do with. Like, I trust me, I know what the Proton CEO said. I don't know what that has to do with talking to cops, personally. Okay, I am almost caught up here. I'm going to answer this one question from FuzzyMint, and then we're going to get back into the wins. So FuzzyMint asks, what's your take on Intel's IME and AMD's PSP? I think you mean Intel ME. Supposedly spyware at the hardware level, you really can't evade this without using older devices. Yeah, so a couple things here. One, I am not, first off, spyware is used very liberally. And I wish it wasn't, because it takes away the spectrum of what is actually spyware. So there has been actual spyware found in devices, things that are strictly there designed to literally steal your data and submit it to third parties that it's not supposed to go to. We've seen this in like Chinese spyware, like China will implement like weird ass telemetry on devices that's not supposed to be there, and it's literally designed to be spyware. Like that is its entire purpose. I've also seen things that like are features that were literally designed to be features, but they were exploited and they were used for wrong things, and then they submitted data to third parties. The end result is the same, right? So I'm not saying the end result is different, but the intention is different. And I think that when people say anything is spyware, it takes away some of the severity of people who are doing things that are really bad versus things that are just bad. So I like to be very careful when I use the word spyware, and I don't like personally when people call Intel ME and AMD's PSP spyware, because there are legitimate use cases for those, especially on like the enterprise side of things. So I personally am not in the boat that Intel ME is spyware. I am in the boat that Intel ME is probably something most people don't need and can just open up their device to just vulnerabilities because of attack surface. And I don't think, like, Intel ME doesn't need to be spyware for like us to still want to disable it for just basic digital minimalism and just saying, oh, hey, it's the same thing as like, random Windows features. It's like, oh, I don't need that, so I'll just turn it off. I don't need the Xbox feature. It's just adding bloat, and it's just possibly a vulnerability waiting to happen. So I'm just going to turn that off. And I see Intel ME is kind of the same way. I have seen no evidence, and even in talks like DEF CON, there's been some talks from people who literally like broke down and tried to analyze Intel ME, and even those researchers said, hey, yeah, we turned it off, but we don't think there's any like malicious intent with it. So that's where I fall on it. As for what to do with it, a lot of laptops nowadays, you can ask them to remove Intel ME, especially if they're built that way from the ground up. So I just put out a laptop review from Nova Custom, and it runs Core Boot. And with Core Boot, you literally just go into your BIOS, and there's Intel ME, and you can just disable it right there and then. That easy. There are a couple other devices, and it's not just older devices. So there are some newer devices out there that you can do this on. So definitely look into that. But no, I'm not of the camp that it's spyware, but I am in the camp that if you are someone who's trying to lock things down and make sure there is no room for compromise, then go ahead. It's not going to hurt you. Sorry about my dog, guys. Okay, I am now going to go back to the wins. Edward deleted their old Facebook accounts. We got a lot of social media deletions this week, which is really exciting. They switched from Windows to Linux. Would love to hear what distro you switched to. They moved their family and friends from Signal to SimpleX Chat. It seems superior in terms of privacy and security compared to Signal and Session. I do have Signal for some people, but I'm converting more people day by day. It has become a lot more usable nowadays. Yeah, okay, that's a really interesting switch. I'm honest, personally, I'm actually shocked you did this, because I find SimpleX to be a lot less user-friendly than Signal. And so I think I'd really struggle to do this personally with people I already got to Signal, especially because there was already the friction of getting them to Signal. And I feel like if I got them to move to something else, then it would really like be like twice as hard at that point. So I am going to give you the big W for being able to pull it off. As for like if I'd recommend it to most people, I think for most people Signal's like more than safe and very good to be. But if you have a reason that you prefer SimpleX and you want people to be there, then that's a win as well. So good job. I'm shocked you did it, honestly, and that's a big win. Speaking of SimpleX, I had announcements, and SimpleX was part of those announcements, and I totally blew by those, so I'll go ahead and give those announcements at the end. Rewire, as I said in the last stream, I've had some troubles being as private now that I'm on Android. The main issue for me was that I had previously relied on Apple Maps for private routing. Initially, the only serious map applications to consider were Waze and Google Maps. I knew about OpenStreetMap, but the map in my area had very little detail, so I went with Waze as they said they didn't share data with Google. That was until I heard that anyone can edit OpenStreetMap. I created an account and began to make contributions using my knowledge, correcting roads, and adding businesses I know of. I've even started to do some surveying today. It's now good enough that I can use it for basic purposes, but I'm going to keep improving it. Even though I still supplement with Waze, once it's good enough, I plan to commit to Organic Maps, which has a much more friendly UI than OSM and for fully offline navigation. Okay, first off, people in the Signal group, I see you guys. I'm going to get back to you soon. But Rewire, this is one of the biggest issues I've seen, actually. Like, of all the apps I've seen, photos used to be a really hard one for people to find alternatives to, and I think Ente's been really closing that gap. But maps is still a big one. You know, people will just say, oh, just use OSM, OpenStreetMap. And I think it's very generous to call OSM a fully feature-filled replacement to like Apple Maps and Google Maps. That's just a very, very ambitious thing to get people to move to. With that said, you did mention organic maps, which is a great start. There's also Magic Earth, which I've heard really good things about. So those are kind of the two I hear the most about here. But even then, I feel like for a lot of people, it's going to feel like a transition from Apple and Google Maps. What I did really want to outline here is I want to give you massive congrats for actually like seeing, hey, oh yeah, OSM is missing these like critical places that I know exist. So I'm going to step forward and I'm going to like contribute that data myself. And I think that's awesome. And I just want to give massive props to you for like making the change that you want to see. And if everybody did that, then OSM would be a lot better. And so maybe if any of you use OSM or you already have it installed, see if you can contribute something new. If everyone contributed just one extra thing, it would really help a ton. So congrats. And it's really awesome to see you be the change you want to see. I'm going to take a quick... Oh, I'm sorry. My screen didn't change. Here's Rewire's comment. I'm sorry, everybody. I will go ahead and show you the screen while I'm going to check. Okay, Doggo is fine. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, Goodujo says, I'm going to be honest, Organic Maps is not perfect in its navigation. Had me go dead ends twice. I'll probably rely on Google Maps on a few things in another profile. Yeah, I've had a lot better luck, and I've seen a lot more people have luck like using Google Maps or Apple Maps in like a separate device or in a profile or a different user account than by like actually finding alternatives. Let me go ahead and move on to Ozen. Switch to Lux encryption for full disk encryption for all Linux machines, and for cross-platform USB data transfers went with Siri Kali. It works on Linux, macOS, and Windows operating systems if you choose encryption method. Nice. I haven't heard of Siri Kali before. It looks really cool, and it seems like a nice little piece of software. So congrats. And yeah, if you're on Linux and you haven't done full disk encryption, Lux is probably the way to go if you haven't already. Dawn, paid for a year of Tuta to check it out. You don't have to pay a year to check out Tuta, but I'm guessing you hopped on the new deal that they just put out because Tuta just hit their, I think, 11th year birthday. So moved my DuckDuckGo alias to it too. We'll see how it handles Taco Bell emails. If I like it, I might move from Proton. If it can fill your Taco Bell fix better than Proton, then you will switch. Proton's politics aside, Tuta is a little cheaper, and since I use a VPN other than Proton's, I think this might be worth the hassle. Still need to find a European private domain registrar to get a cheap URL for emails, though. Nice. I'm glad to hear you're looking into custom domains. I've already given my spiel on custom domains a lot of times now, but I think it's a great way to actually own your email and be able to move between providers freely. So that's a great way to go. So congrats, Don, and keep us updated in next week's or the next week after that on your Taco Bell updates. Unknownghost has been doing... Okay, actually, before Unknownghost, let me check the Signal group. Marnik sent love to NBTV. They also sent love to some articles on privacy guides regarding like privacy being about more than just us. Garujo said my screen. Too many screens. Yeah, so I moved over to the right screen. Thank you guys. You guys tried to help me and I just wasn't looking at the screens. Unknownghost is a regular, and previously they were working on like trying to set up a Linux phone. And they installed some custom stuff on it. They're trying to get it to run Linux, and previously it didn't actually have like phone support, like phone calls and SMS. But it looks like now they're phoned. It was actually easier than I expected. I just had to launch the Lomri Dialer app, which I haven't heard of. They thought it only supported MIR, but it actually works just fine on Xorg. If you want a Linux phone, buy a Pine phone, install Postmarket OS with Phosh, and continue enjoying your life. In the meantime, I will continue trying to receive phone calls, SMS messages, and notifications, and the underscore character. It would be difficult to provide a guide since this phone's configuration is split between two of my pseudonyms. Yeah, if you ever are able to figure out how to do a guide, definitely do it. That's one of my pet peeves. So I've been I've been trying to set up some servers recently for some different projects I'm working on this last week, and I cannot express to you guys how frustrated I got. So here, I'm gonna go into rant mode. Let me switch my scene. I will remember to switch my scene into rant mode. I've been trying to set up these servers, and if I were to describe how technical I am with this stuff, I'm technical enough to be able to pretty much follow most guides and fill in the gaps myself and figure it out. But I'm not like so technical that it's just obvious to me, right? And I was getting so frustrated reading documentation for things that are self-hosted. They are written for simply people that know exactly what they're doing, and they don't bother to explain literally like the smallest steps that could make someone like me just have a much easier time. So instead, like, I cannot express how lazy the documentation is for so many of these projects. So some of the documentation is like, oh, just install these things. And it's like, well, and then they link to each thing, and then the things are like broken links, so then I have to find it myself, or it links to a page that then links to another page on what you actually need to do. It's just really lazy, and I feel like so many projects I stumble on have really lazy documentation, especially when it's for something technical. But I think the more technical something is, that means the smarter people are behind it, and also the harder it is to do it, and the better documentation it needs. So I'm just so done reading this crappy documentation. I'm glad it exists in the first place. I'm really happy. It's not that I'm ungrateful. I just think that it could be so much better, and people would actually enjoy and prefer self-hosting things if it was easier. Massive shout out to Ente. They just released like a one command self-host thing that they can do. And that's more of the stuff we need to do. Like the other thing too about the self-hosting is that there were so many things that were just needlessly complicated that I know they could just like compile and bring it back together and like make it easier for just random people to host. It's almost like these like, I don't know, it was just very frustrating for me. So I don't want to rant too much. I just want to say that I wish that technical people who know this stuff from the back of their hand would like try to make it easier for others. So yeah. Let's see here. That is my rant. I'm seeing people having issues. The web page keeps crashing for me. The stream looks fine on my end. So let me know what you guys are having issues with. Someone uses Nyala for their domain registrar. I've heard good things about them, and I think they support Monero. And I think they're from the same people that originally started Pirate Bay, actually. Months ago, I bought a used ThinkPad T470S with the hope of installing a Linux distro onto it. Unfortunately, that laptop's plastic is infused with perfume. It's been stored in my shed with the hope the smell will reduce over time. That is a first. Brought into the house yesterday, and after letting the machine warm up, got to work. I downloaded Fedora Silverblue. At this point, my headache from the perfume got to be too much. Laptop is back in the shed for another couple of months. I'm so sorry. I've never heard that before. My wins this week is deciding which distro I'm going to be using and finally trying out this machine long enough to know it's a damn nice computer. In hindsight, I should have bought new, even if that meant buying a computer with lower specs. Yeah, you know, I wonder what you could do for the plastic. Like, I wonder if there's something you can, like, because you could probably remove at least some of the plastic. Like, if you can take off the bottom, like, you might be able to at least, like, put the plastic in something. Please, someone tell me. This could be awful advice. Do not take this advice. But I'm wondering, like, what I would search is, can I put plastic in vinegar or something? Like, I don't know. That might actually, like, destroy plastics. That's why I would look it up. But I would, like, you've probably already done research and you probably already know what you're doing. But I'm curious if there's something maybe that we're not thinking about to get you on that computer sooner. But either way, thanks for sharing. And it's kind of a humorous story, for better or for worse. Yes, Oliver just said, going back to my rant, that not all documentation is bad. Image documentation is amazing. Only Office self-hosting docs is bad. NixOS wiki is absolute shit, they said. Yeah, so I do want to say, not all documentation is bad. It's just there were a few things I was trying to host. I won't name it because I don't want to, like, call anyone out directly. But, like, those few things were just awful. And it really ticked me off because, like, when I actually started figuring out how to do it, I realized that, like, literally it wasted 30 minutes of my time trying to, like, fill in the gaps. And at the end of the day, it was like 2 extra commands that were universal commands that everybody had to do anyway. And, like, if they just put those commands there, it would have saved me 30 minutes. It would have saved probably a lot of other people 30 minutes. It probably would have saved some people a lot more than 30 minutes. So it just really frustrates me that, like, people aren't thinking about, like, other people's time. And yeah, perhaps I'm coming at it from a selfish perspective because it wasted my time, but I'm also coming at it from a perspective of if anyone else is trying to self-host, they shouldn't have to waste time to self-host either. So if I'm dealing with issues, I'm assuming someone else is as well. And that's really why I get so frustrated about it. And they also shouted out ArchWiki. Yeah, ArchWiki is good. So again, there are some good, like, wikis. There are good places with good documentation, just not enough of them. It shouldn't be the exception. It should be the rule. Let's see. Yeah, some people are giving advice on what to do about the perfume smell. Okay, we're almost done with the wins here. We're on Fire Dragon, who's an early Techlorian. Really glad to see Techlorians here, guys. Got one of my family members to switch their keyboard app on their phone. They really enjoy using Fudo keyboard. We will be trying to get them to use Mullvad VPN. Congrats. Fudo seems really good, and a lot of people in the community love the Fudo keyboard. So I've heard nothing but good things, especially because of the voice to text. Finally found, is voice to text built into the Fudo keyboard? I haven't used it. But I know voice to text is at least one feature from the Fudo team that people love. So if someone can confirm, that would be awesome. Finally found a workflow for my devices. I now use Mullvad VPN for all my traffic to hide it from my Snoopy ISP. Nice. Switched to Wayland from X11, specifically switched from DWM to Hyperland. The thing that was holding me back was NVIDIA. Yes, NVIDIA will do that on Linux, but it works well enough that I no longer have any issues on Wayland. Not only I get the smooth animations, but I also get better security and privacy as well, since apps are no longer keylogging everything. Super exciting, and I've had nothing but issues with the NVIDIA with Linux, but I've heard it's been getting better, and I'm really glad you could set up Wayland on Linux. So huge congrats, and I know that's a big step. Let's see. Ente said, I got a privacy win today. I switched from using Discord to send messages back and forth from my PC to my cell phone and started using Session instead. And instead of using Windows, it sounds like our win last week. We talked about Discord and alternatives to Discord last week. So congrats. And instead of using Windows for everything, I started dual booting with Linux Mint and now using Linux Mint as my primary OS for a lot of things. Nice. It's a great middle ground. And I'm really glad that you found a way to incorporate Linux in your life. So congrats. And I want to maybe take a break here. And as I take this break, let's give some confetti to everybody who has shared these wins so far, because a lot of these are awesome, like getting things like dual booted, getting things deleted, getting Discord alternatives, getting people on different messengers, busting out old laptops that smell like perfume, all the good things that we all stumble on at some point. Let me see here. Let me catch up on some comments. Henry, your screen. Yes. Yeah, we're getting some confetti. Let's go. Let's go. Woo woo. Where did I leave off? Yes, I gave my thoughts on Intel ME. Is there any Tor VPN-friendly email alias service? Not that I know of off the top of my head. Will free Proton accounts you haven't logged into 5 years be deleted this month or next April? I don't know if that's a question, but I know that both Proton and Tuta have like max timeouts for free accounts. Like Proton and Tuta, if you don't log in and use your free accounts after some time, they will delete it. So make sure they're actually used accounts. I want to move from Spotify. They're grabbing a lot of data. Any ideas which service I could use or offers much more privacy? What do you use to listen to music? Yeah, this is going to be really tough. I mean, Spotify is, I don't like Spotify as a company personally. I really don't like how they're trying to make things exclusive, like podcasts. I will say there's always the option to at least use Spotify more privately. It's very easy on desktop. You can just, install a web app. For Spotify, have an ad blocker established. You can even do some extra blocking if you want to with certain on-screen elements. And if you keep it in a web app, it's already pretty good relative to like just using it on your desktop. But in terms of like music alternatives, it's going to be really hard. There's always the option to like self-host your own library. You can do local libraries. Some people prefer using Apple Music, and some people will just like listen to music on the web. Lately, I actually took a break from paying for a streaming service to see how I'd like it, and I've been just like listening to things. So I have like a free Spotify account and a web app, and that's been going really well. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and I feel like it's a good way to just like, yeah, it's in a web app with like an email alias, and they took my SimpleLogin alias. I never gave any real information, and it seems like a pretty clean way to do things. A lot of people also use YouTube, so you can just use YouTube as well. And of course, you can always host your local library. Those are kind of the most common strategies I've seen. So some things for you to try out. I just converted my whole fam to Proton Email, VPN, and Drive. It's been great. Still on Bitwarden, but thinking about Proton Pass. Yeah, try it out. Also, it's a pretty easy transition too from Bitwarden to Proton Pass. It shouldn't take too long. And Garujo also sent a confetti sticker on Signal too. Just seeing it now. How do I disable Intel ME? That's going to vary depending on the system. And it's not the easiest thing to do, which is why it is easier typically to like get a device that's advertised with the ability to get rid of Intel ME. So you have to look up dedicated guides. I can't like go through it right now in the stream, and I haven't even seen the instructions myself how to do it. I just know it's not the easiest thing to do, and to do right, especially. Nice, congrats. Yeah, compartmentalizing profiles. Nice. Good job, Ringcash. Sanjaya, regarding TOTPs, what are the benefits of using Ente Auth as opposed to other services like 2FAS or Aegis? Really, what it comes down to is Ente Auth is cross-platform. It's got nice end-to-end encryption. It can also be used offline. It's a nice interface, and it's all open source. Aegis is not cross-platform, doesn't have built-in syncing, and it's Android only. 2FAS is nice as well. So those are both good services. I would say like Ente Auth versus 2FAS is a much more fair comparison in terms of features, whereas Aegis is again kind of just offline and Android only. Great TOTP app, love Aegis. I used it myself for a long time. I just think that it makes more sense for most people to use Ente Auth, especially because a lot of people use multiple devices nowadays. Henry, your screen. Yeah, I don't know much about this removed premium plan, so I don't really have any thoughts there. Let's see, Starman said, just to add to what you said about Intel ME, I believe scaring people by calling everything spyware creates decision paralysis and in the long run harms privacy as people do not know where to start. Fully agreed. I have definitely seen that, and for my coaching, like private coaching, one-on-one with people, it's probably the most common thing I see is this, like what you're describing to be decision paralysis of like, oh, I have this concern, I have this concern, I have this concern, I have this concern. And honestly, most of it is just like, okay, let's actually get to know you. Let's get to know like what you're concerned about away from everything you're hearing. And when we do that, then we can kind of say, okay, so based on what you said, here are actually like your top 3 concerns that we should target. And here's the honest truth. Normally the 3 things that we come up with are not at all related to the things they were concerned about. So this is very much a real thing. It is very common, and I think it's because, it's one of the downsides of the internet. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of times it's really hard to take that information and be able to integrate it in your life with the priority that it deserves. A good example of this is I see a lot more discussions about disabling Intel ME before like freezing your credit. And those are two completely different things. So I'm not saying one takes the place of the other. I'm not saying one's more important than the other. But if you actually were to ask the people of like the average person on the streets, hey, what's the what are the attacks you've been hit by the last 5 years? Like, what are the real world impacts that you've dealt with in the last 5 years? You're going to find a lot more people say I dealt with identity theft, and a credit like lock would have prevented that. Versus people who are saying, oh, my data was spied on by Intel through Intel ME, therefore my identity was stolen. And it's like, so what I'm trying to say here is that these can both be valid concerns, but you need to get to know the person and help them decide in what situation and in what scenario is it a concern for them. And I don't see that many discussions happen around that in the privacy community, and I wish that was better. It's something that I can still improve on, and I try to always like put things into perspective, because it's really easy to go off the walls with like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and before you know it, unless you're mining your own silicon in your bedroom with a rock, then it's not safe. And so we don't want to do that. We want to keep things actionable. We want to keep things realistic. We want to keep things actually like personalized and not just like one size fits all. I think it's the way to do it personally, and that's the approach I like to take with like the way I talk about things on Techlore. Realm deleted Windows 10 and moved to Linux Mint. Congrats. Let's see. Is it smart to use Proton VPN when it's tied to your Proton email address? I'd say for most people it's fine. Again, it really depends on threat modeling and like, you know, if there's a risk of like tying the two things together, but for most people, you're fine. Typically, the thing you're trying to prevent against is like an ISP collecting your data, or like sites knowing your IP address, and whether or not you use Proton VPN and Proton email together doesn't really change that for most people. Any thoughts on GL iNet routers? No, I haven't really heard of them before, but you're saying they ship with OpenWRT, so it sounds good, but I've never heard of them, so I don't really have thoughts. Let me grab my water. Take a quick water break. Let me check the Signal group. Jordan in the Signal group said they've been using YouTube Music without an account in the browser. It works pretty well. Okay, yeah. I actually just normally use regular YouTube. I didn't know YouTube Music was publicly accessible without an account. Someone also said Navidrome is a great music server to self-host. It has pretty good documentation, super easy to self-host. Cool. So Navidrome, if anyone wants a recommendation. Let's see here. Documentation always seems like such an afterthought when in fact it is so important. Yeah, I agree. It's often the first impression I ever get of a project. Yeah, documentation is really important. Someone recommended baking soda for the plastic. Definitely look into that. I've been trying out QubesOS on an old Pixel 5. I really like it. Nice, nice. Patty Murphy, companies delete inactive free email accounts 3 to 6 months. Yep, I think Proton and Tuta both have a 3 to 6 month policy. So be aware of that, people. I use Spotify Lite on my phone, though Spotify on phone sucks. Let's just say proceed with caution. Been using Tuta for 2 years and it lacks local performance. Interesting. I want to try and set up my Pi-hole on my router. Been hard trying to convince my parents, but they recently agreed. Oh, that's a big win, actually. Yeah, if you can get a Pi-hole set up on your home network, that's like a big win for a lot of people, actually. So good job. Oh, Pedro Gabriel asks, okay, here's a noob question. How does using VPN protect my daily internet usage? And how does it keep me more private? Really good question, and definitely, yeah, like it is kind of a noob question maybe for a lot of people here, but I think it's a very common question, and a lot of people don't know the answer. So typically where my mind goes to, and I kind of hinted at this recently, the first thing is your internet service provider. This is Comcast, this is AT&T, this is whatever. There's not that many out there, especially in the US. And the thing is, they are promised, guaranteed, will collect your data, use it for bad things. This is proven, it is evidence-based. There's already been too many reports that show that all these companies do harvest and use your data for some kind of nasty stuff. A VPN will make that much harder. They can still see that you use a VPN, but they can't do that much with VPN traffic. And that is already a big win. So if you just want to be more private from your ISP, huge win. In terms of like real world benefits from that, questionable, right? Like no one's ever going to like get hacked or have some big issue in their life because they weren't using a VPN to protect their privacy from their ISP. So on the list of priorities, I'd say it's very low, but it is a real actionable thing. The main criticism I see to this is that people say, well, you know, a VPN is just its own ISP. You're just shifting trust. And typically I say, well, why would you, like, your ISP is guaranteed to collect your data, and just because your VPN has the capability of doing the same thing, even though they have years of trust and all these other like precautions to verify that they try to take your privacy seriously, even though there's a risk of them doing the same thing, it doesn't mean it's not worth the risk. Like worst case, you're no worse off than where you started. So I think that's not like a legitimate reason to not pursue it. I think a legitimate reason to not pursue it is if you just don't see value in keeping your ISP away from what you're doing online. And in that case, then I guess a VPN is not good for you. The second thing is for websites. And this is probably, I think, what is for more people more useful. And even then, it's kind of iffy, right? So let's say that you access 10 websites today. If you have the same IP address across those websites, then if there's like a Google tracker or a Pixel or Facebook, Meta, they can be able to tell, oh, this user went on these 10 websites with the same IP address, so therefore it's the same user. So it's really easy to like tie your identity across these websites. So when you use a VPN, it's going to blend you in with other people. You're going to have a more common IP address. There could be, let's say, 1,000 people using that same IP address, and they're connecting to 1,000,000 sites that day across all of them. And then it's really hard for Facebook to go, oh, this is the same person doing these 8 different things. So you really have a nice anonymity set. Now, the main criticism to that I see is there's other ways to track users, like fingerprinting, and this is not really an effective way to prevent that. And I think that's really valid. It's a good point. With that said, IP address tracking, from what I've been able to tell, is a much more common way to just quickly tell if something is like legitimate, if this is like the same person, versus browser fingerprinting is a lot more like gray in terms of how it's utilized and how often sites utilize this to try to track users. And from what I've seen, typically browser fingerprinting is a lot more isolated, targeted, and trying to find specific people. I personally haven't seen fingerprinting like done in a way where it's proven, right? It could be happening, but I haven't seen it proven to be done on a majority of websites as the main way of tracking users. Normally, from what I can tell, it's done by like identifiers like emails, phone numbers, when you're logged into your accounts, data sharing in the background between your accounts, cookies is still kind of a thing, and your IP address. Those are kind of the main things I see out there. So those are kind of the things I try to like present to you. Even if someone gets you, I guess the third thing, just to throw a third thing your way, is you just don't want an individual to get your IP address. So if you're a streamer and you obviously don't want your IP address, or like you play games and you're doing P2P stuff, then if you share your IP address with other people, they can like DDoS you, and so that can be like just really annoying and obnoxious. And theoretically, someone, if they have your IP address, can try to like locate your general location. So there's also the use case of just hiding your IP address from individuals or individual services. So those are all kind of the use cases of VPNs. Notice none of those are like super necessary for most people. And even I would say not everybody needs a VPN. But I will say, if you're someone who wants to deal with any of these concerns, a VPN is probably something you're going to need. So that's typically where I fall with them. I hope I answered your question. And definitely check out our resources, techlore.tech/VPN. You can compare VPNs and see the different privacy and security features between them and make a decision of which one works best for you. It's all open source, and if you see a service missing, please contribute it so that we have more data on there. Let's see. Oh, it's frozen? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Been using Tuta for 2 years. Okay, I already saw that one. They used to have a €2 a month, €12 a year plan. It was down to match the value, but it was the one that supported custom domains and a few emails. Yeah, that sucks then if they got rid of that. I wasn't too familiar with that plan, but I wish they kept it. Proton is strange when it comes to multiple accounts. The terms of service say you can only have one, but on subreddit, it'll really tell people they don't mind if people have a second. Yeah, it's probably just to cover their asses, is my guess. Credit freeze for the win, yeah. If you haven't frozen your credit and you're in the US, please, This is like priority one. Like everybody should do this. It should be done by default. It's like the #1 thing to prevent identity theft. It's the #1 thing to keep the average person safe. Please freeze your credit. Everybody listening, talk to people you know, ask your friends and family. I guarantee you a majority of your friends and family, unless you've already told them to do this, have not frozen their credit, and everybody needs to freeze their credit. It should just be a default thing, and it does not impact your credit score. All it does is prevent some random person online who got your social security number from opening $100,000 of loans under your name. That's all it does. It just prevents random people from opening things on your credit file, which is not that radical and is something everybody should do. So please, freeze your credit. I don't have too many thoughts on decentralized VPNs. I actually did an interview with the team from Safing on the SPN, and they kind of gave their thoughts on decentralized VPNs and the pros and cons, and I think they did a pretty good job of being like pretty objective and covering their thoughts on it. So I'd push you towards that interview I did. I'm still kind of like figuring out how I feel about them personally. As a cybersecurity risk management specialist, a lack of technical documentation for a project makes me cry. Yeah, I think crying is probably my secondary reaction. My first one is like light anger, and then yes, sobbing and getting ice cream and just wanting to die. those are my typical reactions. We'll all have different reactions to bad documentation. Don't give us these reactions, please, if you have a project that you have to have documentation for. I remember getting doxxed a decade ago because they had my IP address. Yep. So yeah, be careful with that stuff. Not all VPNs are created equal. Yeah, so check out our VPN chart. I think it's a pretty good way to check out like the best VPNs. I've had a lot of problems with websites thinking I'm suspicious when using a VPN. Yeah, that's a common issue. So, you're sharing an IP address with tons of other people. So you're going to stumble on that issue, and that is the main downside. Thanks for the kind of explanation. I asked because I use Proton Unlimited, but never thought of using its VPN because I already use Brave. Gonna use more. Yeah, so again, just kind of like reflect on the use cases for a VPN. It is extremely possible that you won't have a use case based on what I told you. And if you're one of those people, then you don't need a VPN. Personally, for me, I do use a VPN all the time because it doesn't really cost me anything. And I feel like I actually benefit from the privacy protections. But that won't be everybody. Why do you prefer NoteSnook to standard notes? Both is pretty good, but seems to me you've chosen NoteSnook because, yeah, definitely not like chosen necessarily. And actually, I'm doing Techlore resources. Here, I'll give you guys a sneak preview. Let me pull up my notes here. Tomorrow, I will be updating, today or tomorrow, I'll be updating the Techlore resources. It will include standard notes. So here are the updates I'm going to make. So someone sent me an email and corrected that Mullvad DAITA, their search engine, is available to the public now, even non-subscribers of Mullvad. So I need to update our resources to reflect that. I want to add some kind of Linux comparison website so people can compare Linux distros. So if anybody has any recommendations for me, please send them along. I'm going to update our resources to include Molly, the Signal client. I need to decide what to do with Strongbox and KeyPassium after Strongbox got bought out by a company, so I will include whatever I decide to do on the resources for that. I'm going to add Obtainium. I'm going to add Lineage OS as like a more device support option, which used to be Divest, but then Divest ended, so that's going to turn into Lineage. I'm going to add Threema. I'm going to add Fastmail. I'm going to add... Filein has a question mark. I'm going to do a little bit more digging in the Filein, but most likely I'm going to add Filein. I am going to add standard notes. I'm going to add Proton Docs, and I'm going to add Wormhole. So those are the things I'm going to add. So no, I don't choose NoteSnook. It's just NoteSnook sponsors what we do. So I do the sponsor segments for NoteSnook, but definitely have never like not supported standard notes. I just have personally used NoteSnook, but I haven't used standard notes yet. So in terms of my personal use cases, that's all I have experience with, but I'm coincidentally about to add standard notes. So it's not anything personal against it. I've got that question a few times now. Yeah. Hi, Henry. Hello, Bandy Morgo. This question is probably silly, but is freezing credit only for American users? Yes. So very US first. I believe I heard from a Canadian that there is like some kind of process, but it seemed weird and iffy. I do know it is a thing in Australia. So yeah, it seems very widely supported in the US and not so much in other countries from what I can tell. So you're gonna have to look into your local country. I can't tell you every country. But I did hear complaints from a Canadian once that it was a pain in the ass for them. So I don't know if that was them or someone else. VPN extension browser or app VPN will either protect if you could rewrite that into a question I can help out with, that would be really helpful. Not too many thoughts on this here. Not something I'm super familiar with. Okay, let's go back to the wins. Let's wrap these up, everybody. So back to our forum. Let's see here. Cubic got my brother to use Linux as their daily driver. We upgraded his 10-year-old computer to the modern age and wiped his Windows installation and put on Bazite instead. He says all the games he tried along with a bunch of other tools and alternatives he uses just works. Just had some issues with F1 and F2 keys when playing StarCraft 2, but he easily looked up a solution online. Linux gaming and desktop experience has come a long way. That's awesome. And good job getting your family to safer stuff too. Like, that's really good of you. So congrats. And I'm really glad to hear that you had that kind of success. CosmoCat did some changes to the UPI payment interface to hide my mobile number. Don't know what this is, but they're going to explain it. UPI is QR code-based payment system in India, which facilitates direct bank-to-bank transfers. So it sounds like Zelle here in the US. It's used everywhere here for purchasing tickets, groceries, donations, etc. The service is provided in multiple apps, and all of them are interoperable with each other. You get a payment handler when you register for the service, which will be used for transfer. App providers have taken an easy route of a default payment handler like your mobile app number. They changed all of them to be in their name, which hides their mobile number from bank statements. That's awesome. Very subtle, but like important thing. That is like a very, very important privacy. Like I would not like to just have a phone number attached to every transaction. So that's really awesome. And then their migration from 1Password to Bitwarden continues. That's right. I think last week you said you were starting it out. So they were going one account at a time so they could like, you know, I talked about auditing earlier in the stream. It sounds like they're kind of doing an audit as they're moving over. So they're going through each service, logging in, checking privacy settings, seeing if they even need it, deleting it, and just kind of cleaning things up as they move. So they're doing the painful migration, but they're going to have a very clean migration once they're done with it. So their migration reasons, it's FOSS, so they like how Bitwarden's open source, they think it's cheaper. They also like Bitwarden's recent updates, which is their UI and also SSH keys, which is awesome. Why migrating one by one, deleting unused accounts, updating passwords, check settings, removing PII. Yeah, so pretty much what I said, which is awesome. And they faced many cases of not being able to delete old job portal accounts of companies I've applied to previously. I also not able to remove resumes. I replaced resumes with another version of a resume without mobile, email, and communication address. Left LinkedIn profile URL is the only communication mechanism. That's awesome. So really sounds like you're doing it like you're taking the hard, you took the hard way, but it is also like probably the best way. Like you will feel really good when you're done with it and your hard work will pay off. I promise you that because I've done the same kind of transition in the past. It was a pain in the ass, but when it was done, it felt great. Over on the Signal group, let's see here. Distrochooser.de was recommended, so I'm going to go ahead and forward that to my note to self on Signal. Oliver said they've been using Mullvad Leda for the past week. They've been really liking it. It's a simple search engine with no AI, so cool. I thought it was too simple for me personally. Yeah, it was just a little too simple for me. I'll just leave it at that. If you use Mullvad Leda, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. So if you want something simpler, it could be perfect. For me, I normally use a few more features in my search engine. Garujo sent along some resources for filing. I will also forward those to my note to self. Thank you, guys. Cool. And then also some love here for like Linux gaming. So really cool. And that wraps up the wins. Let me go ahead and give you all some attention here. Let me check out XMR chat while you guys are there. No tips on XMR chat. Just wanted to showcase XMR chat in case you guys haven't seen it. But xmrchat.com/Techlore. I get a lot of questions from you guys about like, how do I leave comments? How do I engage with the stream? Without needing a Google account, without needing YouTube. I'm trying to be better about checking XMR chat. What you do is you just put in a name like Bob. You can tip whatever you want. You can even just tip $1 and you just type your message. Hello, how is your day? And then you can tip with like Monero and you just send the tip and then your like message will show up here in the public chat. And it's a way to pretty much, yeah, like it's all through Monero. You can use other things. It must convert because I don't support any of these. Like I only have a Monero wallet, so I'm assuming that XMR Chat converts it to Monero for us, the creators, which is pretty cool. Just because I haven't seen many tips there recently, I just want to make sure I showcase that for you guys. Let me see here, and let me catch up. Someone did it in Canada, so they had success there. You know, one blocker, not too well. Brandy Morgo said, thank you, Henry, for the response. Cool. QR code is the most successful phishing method. Be aware of interacting with QRs. Yes, very much so. There's been so many cool attacks I've seen come out of like DEF CON and even just like regular research papers showing the prevalence of QR code stuff. I hate QR code stuff for so many reasons, like in the real sphere, like the real world, mostly in terms of like menus. I don't know about you guys. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. I really do not like, typically I think technology makes things really great, really efficient. It's nice, you know, it comes with some compromises, but overall an improvement. I can't stand the direction of the service industry becoming technology though. Like I actually enjoy talking to someone when I'm ordering something. I can like be more specific, like, oh, hey, like what does this have in it? Like you can't ask a computer, what does this have in it? And like, I can't stand when I go into a restaurant, I go to the front because there's people behind a register, and then they look at me like I'm crazy, like I'm crazy. And then they point at a kiosk, they say, order at the kiosk. And it's like, oh my God. And then you know what the kiosk thing does when you're done with it? It says leave a 20% tip. And it's like, but no one helped me. Like, you know? So I'm not an asshole. I'm not gonna tip 20%, but I'm not an asshole, so I still leave a tip. But that shit just infuriates me. And it's like, what? Like, I just think like technology can be used for a lot of good, and I think that replacing human interaction is never the good. And that is my biggest criticism of social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, all of this stuff. They try to make it sound like they're connecting us, but they're robbing us of actual like in-person connection. Like, I think these platforms should be designed in a way to facilitate real-world connection. Like, Facebook should ping you if you're within, like, imagine if Facebook's data collection, instead of being used to exploit you, was used to let you know that you just entered within a mile of someone else. Like, oh, hey, just so you know, your friend's a mile away from you. You should, like, you want me to ping them? Like, a pop-up, like, ping friend A that you're, like, a mile away from them, see if they're available. And like if they're available, they can say yes or no. And if they say yes, then it like starts a group chat with you guys, and you guys just like meet up. Or maybe Facebook like automatically picks a place for you to go to, and maybe that's how they make money. It's like, you know, restaurants can pay to be prioritized based on these people's preferences, and it's all done privately. Like, we could have technology for so much good stuff, and we just waste it on the stupidest crap. Rant over. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on any of that. Wonder if you guys all think I'm crazy too for being annoyed at the kiosks. Do you guys have a good keyboard app? I've seen a lot of people like Fudo recently. So will VPN extensions like Proton VPN or Firefox protect me? Or should I use... The main difference I've seen from VPN extensions versus VPN like apps, programs that are system-wide is just that. Like, the VPN extension will be just for your browser. It'll keep your browser through a VPN, whereas the system-wide one will keep your entire operating system through a VPN. So it's kind of depends on your use case. So going back to the use cases of a VPN, if your main thing to protect is just random websites, you don't want random websites to have your IP address, then just using a browser extension is great. But if you care about this like P2P game that you play, sharing your IP address with other players, then you're going to need a system-wide VPN. If you care about your ISP, you're going to need a system-wide VPN. So yeah, just some things to think about. And I think this is why like Apple's private relay is only through Safari. Apple's really only focused on like third-party, you know, data protection for like random websites. And that's really like the focus that private relay has, because it's Safari only, it's not system-wide. And Apple doesn't really care about what happens in the rest of your system, because even if you have a system-wide VPN on iOS, it still leaks your IP address anyway. So they don't really have that as like a priority threat model or use case. I'm gonna do a quick water break. I encourage you all listening to take a quick water break with me. Oliver on our Signal chat said, Henry, have you tried DAITA, D-A-I-T-A, the new feature, from Mullvad? I have noticed it slows down my connection. Yeah, for those who haven't heard of it, this is like a feature where, kind of speaking to what I've been talking about, so if you've been listening, an internet service provider can mostly only see that you're just using a VPN. But now with AI, with all these new technologies, they can try to infer traffic based on like patterns of your VPN connection. And I'm really simplifying this. So Mullvad, what they're doing is trying to essentially like randomize VPN traffic to make it random enough where no one can tell what the hell's going on, to try to just get ahead of things. I don't think this is like a widespread issue, and it doesn't take away the benefits of a VPN. But Mullvad is just like very like industry first. They always push out these cool new privacy features. So for most people, I do not recommend it. And Oliver asked, have I noticed it slows down? Oh, they asked if I've used it. I tried using it and I had the same issues. It was just really slow. It felt less reliable, and I just personally don't think it's part of my threat model. Like, if I want something that like really protects my internet connection and my network, I'm just gonna open up Tor browser. And Tor browser is already like a super robust tool that I expect to be slow, and I can use it. This is the really important thing. I can use it in a dedicated like slow environment. Like I can use Tor browser for just a select few websites I want to access. When you use Mullvad with DAITA, it's system-wide and everything's gonna go through it. And I wish that maybe I could just send a couple things through it. So that's kind of the issue I think I have with the DAITA situation as a whole. Great feature. I'm really glad they're developing it, and I think eventually most VPNs will have some version of the feature, and it will just be like a standard feature across all VPN providers. They're just like really industry first. But I think it's pretty early on. It's going to get better, and I think they're working to improve it. And I just wish there was more selectivity, personally, for me. Marnik said they appreciate these live streams focusing on wins, positivity. Hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Yeah, no, I do. It's been a fun way, like especially seeing familiar names. Like a lot of you I see every week, and it's really cool to have that like consistent community. One thing that I've always wanted better on Techlore was like just a more consistent community of people that like made it feel more like a home. And I don't think we haven't not had that, if that makes sense. I just wanted something more consistent, and this has been a really good, like, it's been good. Like, it's just been cool to see the same people active, the same people like coming in, and seeing like larger numbers too. Like I'd say most weeks we've been seeing larger numbers on average, and seeing you all like tip and like give support back has just been really cool. So yeah, I've been super happy with it too, and yeah, like I tried really hard. Like guys, I have like crazy plans the next several days, and I tried really hard to like not cancel this because I really wanted to stay on top of it, and I'm really glad I made the time. And I know like the stream's been weird, it's been kind of iffy, I'm not in my normal recording environment, so I hope you guys understand, but it's been really fun. Oliver also, or sorry, Marnik said to Oliver they tried the feature, Mullvad's DAITA, and they experienced the same issues. I've also just received comments from people that say similar things, so I think it's just a common issue. I think it's just part of the function. Even Mullvad says it will slow down traffic, so I think it's just a limitation for the feature right now. Let's see here. Hello from the French side. Hello, Clem. It's nice to have you on. Hi, Henry is listening. Thank you for taking time to do this. It is indeed the tech space. Yes, it is very needed in the tech space. Great. Yes, thank you, RBQ. Yeah. It's been a couple months since I tried it. Not a win, just something fun you'd appreciate. This is from Christopher. I recently got to work 2 events for the company Proofpoint. The keynotes were really cool to listen to, and they touched on QR vulnerabilities. That's awesome. Yeah, I do think QR code vulnerabilities are like scary enough where they can be mainstream. Like regular people will actually realize, no, that is a problem. I should care about that. Normally, like I'm sure you all know yourselves, that a lot of the privacy and security concerns that we talk about back here and that you probably talk about with your friends and family can be scoffed at or challenged pretty easily because people don't quite understand the repercussions of some of this stuff. QR code vulnerabilities typically aren't, I don't think many people will debate you on that. Like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So bring it up. I think it's good to bring up with people. I think Fudo does have glide typing. Yeah. I completely agree with the real world connection rant. Okay, cool. I don't know if I'm too crazy for that. Cheers, that has answered my question. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, you can also do Google keyboard with network denied. I've seen people do that. I've done that myself as well, and I really enjoy doing that. Is the integration with SimpleLogin alias mail is easily replicated with Tuta? Combining this with Proton Pass, it feels like having SSO on every site. Yeah. I don't think so. No, I mean, so you can use SimpleLogin with Tuta. Frankly, I'd ask you what integration SimpleLogin has with Proton Mail, because from what I've seen, there is almost none. Like when you're in Proton Mail, I've seen very little integration with SimpleLogin inside of Proton Mail. There's a ton of integration with Proton Pass, but not Proton Mail. I hope they do, but I'd love to ask, because you can use SimpleLogin with Tuta. Just switch the mailbox. You can actually keep your same SimpleLogin account, keep all of your aliases, just add Tuta as another mailbox, and you can keep them both, or you can delete the Proton one. You can do whatever you want. I have not heard of Sandfly, no. Mullvad should allow you to split tunnel and choose which websites you can route through data. Yeah, that'd be a good feature. It sounds very complicated and very advanced. Like it would take a while to configure it, but I think for people who like really wanted to like nail things down to a T, that's pretty required, I think, for a lot of people to actually use data. Yeah, QR codes are cool, like really cool tech. Fully agreed. It's just you got to be careful with the phishing stuff. I think a really easy way, hear me out, a really easy way for people to help the phishing stuff with QR codes is to put the domain like in text. Like if I'm a restaurant owner, I should put the menu, I should very clearly put the domain in text below the QR code. And like QR code scanners and operating systems and camera apps, I think need to do better about displaying the full QR code before you open it. I know on iOS, if you like hover over a QR code, it gives you just like the base domain. Like it'll be like google.com, but it won't tell you anything like beyond google.com. So personally, I think what needs to happen is they need to give better previews for URLs for camera apps and operating systems. And I think we also need to see like people who print out QR codes attach the full domain. And that way, people can actually verify the authenticity of things a little bit better. Now, obviously, you know, someone can change, you know, the domain and make it match, and then it would still work. But hopefully, like it'd be a little bit harder because then they have to purchase a domain or use a domain that's similar enough to what a legitimate domain would look like. So it's a small deterrent, but I think it could, you know, move the needle in the right direction. That's just a quick idea I had. I don't know how else to deal with the problem, though. It's a difficult issue to deal with. What I'm more infuriated is that it's slowly doing things like replacing physical menus for people. Yeah, I actually hate digital menus. Like, I think physical menus are just so much better. Like the fact that you can just have everything on one page and just like go through it and just see instantly what you want. When I'm like going through my phone on a mobile menu, I feel like I haven't found a good like app or website yet that actually breaks things down well enough, which makes sense because it's this tiny little thing in your hand. Whereas a menu, you can like flip back and forth, and there's like, yeah, having real stuff is just better sometimes. I use binary eye on F-Droid to see what a QR code links to before opening it. It feels a lot more secure. I haven't heard of binary eye. That sounds like a really good strategy, and it sounds similar to what I was saying and wanted. So I'll check that out. It's a good rec. Here are my wins from the past 2 weeks. I disabled a lot of my iCloud services and swapped to Ente Photos and Standard Notes. I'm trying to begin moving to Signal. I've convinced a few friends already. Those are awesome wins. Congrats. Yeah, especially in light of like the UK end-to-end encryption thing, I've definitely seen more people with iCloud trying to just move towards more resilient platforms. So really cool stuff. Yeah, and definitely report how you like Ente and Standard Notes. Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. Thanks for the rec. All right, I'm caught up with comments. Oh, I'm not, because we have the Signal group. Let's see here. DAITA was just updated. Mullvad just updated DAITA, and a customer using DAITA, the immediate benefit is improved speed. Okay, cool. So it seems like they might be improving the data speed. So if you use Mullvad, try enabling the feature again and seeing if it's better. Garujo said, luckily some restaurants still accept physical menus. Yeah, no, a majority of them still do physical. I'd say it's a minority that do digital. And even the digital ones, I will normally still spot a menu somewhere, and I'll grab it to make a light statement that I do not like the digital menus. DAITA version 3 v3 is already on the roadmap and will introduce a new type of defense alongside the existing ones. So yeah, it looks like Mullvad's continuing to improve on that, which is really exciting. Mullvad's team is always doing some cool stuff. All right, guys, well, I'm caught up, so I'm going to do my final announcements here, as I promised. So I have been crazy busy between all the stuff I'm juggling. So this is like halfway done, if that makes sense. But the big announcement, and again, there will be formal announcements once this is fully ready to go and for all of you to join and understand where to get your perks and your benefits. But if you go to our forum, actually here, give me a sec here. Trust me, this is cool. At least I think it's cool because it was really hard to do. Okay, I'm just prepping all of it so I can give you guys a full like side-by-side demo here. Except apparently YouTube, that does not want to load in this browser. Okay, YouTube's not loading, but my point will stand here. So if I go ahead and pivot over to my screen, so if you go over to our forum, and previously we only had one tier, so if you go to subscribe, I've updated all of our tiers, like every single tier, on all of our platforms to all be using the new Techlorian status. So previously Techlorians were just for our forum, but now Techlorians you can access anywhere. So if you go to Patreon, it's also Techlorians. And they're also all the same perks for the most part. There's a couple asterisks, but overall, if you join on Patreon or you join on the forum, if you're a Bronze Techlorian, you get access to our Signal and SimpleX groups. You also get to vote on upcoming content. So I'm going to publish polls. You guys vote on your favorite content you want to see, and I'm going to prioritize whatever you guys vote on. So you guys have a direct influence on what I post, which I'm really excited to do. The cool thing is that these are all merged. It's actually a lot of work to like do perks universally across different platforms. So this is a big update. It's taken me a long time to kind of get it right. And it's been a long time coming, so a lot of people might have noticed I've been less active on Patreon. That's not on purpose. It's just because it takes a long time to figure out perks that I can do consistently and that I can actually do across platforms. And Silver Techlorians will get video credits, which is a pretty similar perk to what you've all been seeing. And I'm also going to try a new thing, which is personalized video shorts. So you're going to send tech questions, and I'm going to answer your questions in like a 1-minute YouTube short format. And it's going to be public. Like it's a public video where I answer your question, like your private questions, but only patrons get to ask them. So that's something I'm really excited to do. And then there's the gold status, which you get an in-video shout out, which used to be our $50 a month thing. So now you can get it for $20. So I dropped that down. And I have the new like peak tier to be essentially like a day where I give you like my phone number and you can call me, you can text me, and it's a full day where I kind of just like keep myself open for all of you. And then what I'll do is 1 month, each month I'll pick out the day that's like, you know, the day that I'm free, and I'll keep the whole day open just for you guys to kind of give, just to give you guys some attention. Yeah, and then you also can join our website on the gold status. So the cool thing is that you can join these from any platform, including YouTube. So if you're a YouTube member, then you can also join all of these perks on YouTube as well. So what I'm personally excited about, I know it's like really, it seems silly, I think, if you're like a listener, but it's really hard. Most creators only use Patreon, or they only use one thing. And the reason they do that, this is the behind the scenes, is because it's super hard to maintain perks, give perks, maintain members, give them attention on multiple platforms, because integrations are normally like Patreon first, and it's really hard to find integrations and maintain those things on multiple platforms at the same time. And YouTube has different functionality and features than Patreon. Our forum has different features than Patreon. So it really restricted like the kind of perks I could do to keep universal. And eventually we might do Ghost as well. And I wanted the perks to be compatible with Ghost. So yes, essentially you can join YouTube membership right now if you're on YouTube. And on the YouTube memberships, you can go ahead and pick bronze, silver, and gold. There is just no diamond, I don't think, on the YouTube side of things because there's no way to facilitate that. And also there is no like Signal SimpleX group on YouTube because there's also no way to facilitate that from YouTube because there's no way to like DM people on YouTube. So that's one asterisk, like there's one minor difference. So just read the perks and see if there's anything there that resonates with you. And that's my big announcement. It's, I think, pretty exciting. And then Jay went ahead and just sent a super chat here. Thank you, Jay. And Jay said, installed a new app launch as alternative of Instagram called Photo App. I've never heard of this. Let me pull it up. Let's see what you're talking about here. Thanks for the super chat. And let's see what this is. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you all can see what they're talking about. So this is what they moved to. So this is what Jay moved to, and it's a Reclaim Your Feed. It's a new photography platform, chronological, ad-free, and uncropped. Wow, it looks a really clean interface. Seems very photography focused, like if you're a photographer. Portfolio, shop, paid subscriber area. Wow. Whoa, this is cool. I think this is what like photographers have wanted. Whoa, no, this is really nice. No, congrats. And this seems just a lot more professional and like artsy than what you find on Instagram, which has become just kind of not like this at all. Really cool. Congrats, man. Like, really proud of you for that. I think that moving away from I honestly think that one of the worst things that's ever happened to social media is moving away from chronological timelines. I think algorithms have like single-handedly made social media less about people and more about engagement. And that has been the decision that every platform has chosen. And I really wish chronological would become the default. And it's one of my favorite things about Mastodon is that it's all chronological. So yes. Yeah. And Garujo mentioned PixelFed. I don't know if PixelFed integrates with Photo App. I just pulled up Photo App for the first time right now on screen. You guys just saw me do it. But if anyone wants kind of like a free open source like Instagram alternative, PixelFed is fantastic. It's decentralized, it hooks into Mastodon, and it's really nicely done. I think it's actually one of my favorite federated services, so I really like PixelFed. And with that said, that's all I have. So kind of I'm gonna start heading out. So go ahead and start leaving your final things, and I might, engage with the last couple things at the end. But again, there was a final announcement I just gave you guys. So definitely be sure, if you like what we do, of course, no pressure. All our resources are free, but the resources couldn't be free without some of our amazing supporters, which is all you guys. So thank you, Jay. Thank you earlier. Crap, how do I blank on your name? Johnny. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Jay, for supporting in Super Chats. Thank you all of our Techlorians on all of our platforms, on Patreon, on our forum. You guys are all awesome. We now also have all our YouTube members, and you guys are all featured on the channel page because of all the support you gave a couple streams ago. So I just really am grateful for all of you guys, grateful for the opportunity to be here every week and just do this and have this be such a big part of my life. So thank you all. And I hope to keep giving you guys all good content. Don't forget also to join our forum, discuss.techlore.tech. You can leave your wins and be featured on the forum. You will be featured on the forum as long as you leave a good win that's appropriate and I can share on a stream. I will feature them. As you guys see, I feature every single one each week. So get active there. It's open source. We host it ourselves. And I think that's it. I have some exciting content coming out in the next several days, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you all for tuning in, guys. Let me do a final check for comments before I officially log out here. We're done, yeah, I think, yeah. So see you all next time. Next time it should be back to our Friday. This is kind of a random Thursday thing. But next Friday should be normal time, and I will see you all then. Thanks for tuning in.